Hi there, this is Savannah Lawson, and I am completing my uh, book club final. And I was a part of the book club A Novel Bunch. And I just want to, before I get into this, if you see me looking this way, I do have a list of things that I want to make sure that I touch with for you guys. And so if you see me looking away, I'm just looking at my notes. But anyway, I digress. I was part of a novel bunch for our book club, and it was a wonderful experience. One of the things that we did themed book clubs. So, for example, we read the book Dear Evan Hansen, and this book touches on teen suicide and mental health, and just social support systems even. So for that book club, we were going to talk about the importance of guidance counselors in middle school and high schools. So we really tried to take books and then find something that was applicable in real life and connect the two together. As for the authors of our book club, I really wouldn't say we had one author. I would say we had everyone be an author. What we did was we created a Google document in which we all were able to contribute our ideas and thoughts and plan. And that actually, rather than having one author, I think was more beneficial for our book club. I'm not saying it would work for every book club, but it worked for us because it gave a sense of cohesiveness towards the goal of this project. It allowed everyone to be able to put their thoughts and their work into this, because this was something that clearly everyone in this group was, we were very involved in this, and we cared about it a lot. And it became this thing that grew, and we actually learned a lot about each other. I feel like I've made some friends. It's been a really great experience. I do want to talk about in this group, this book club, 4 times of discovery that I had that are really going to benefit me as a person and in the long run. And the first time of discovery was actually during the first book that we read, called The Forgotten Girl by India Hill Brown. And before I start this discovery point, I want to say that just something else that I learned is that don't judge a book by its cover. And, that's a very cliche thing to say, but it's cliche for a reason. I apologize. I have a puppy and she wants to play. Anyway, The Forgotten Girl. Don't judge a book by its cover. It's cliche, but it is true. Oh my gosh, I didn't really feel passionate about reading this book. And, the cover was cool, but I was like, it's not what I'm into. Oh my gosh, I love this book. I really enjoyed it. It's probably one of my most favorite books of the entire semester, and I did learn, just try everything out. But the discovery that I made was I learned how to ask questions. And I think that is an extremely important discovery that is going to benefit me as a teacher, as a person, as anything. Learning how to ask questions, ask the right questions, and how to get the answers you want really makes a big difference. So getting to ask questions and getting to learn how to ask questions was a huge discovery for me. And at the end of this video, I will do my best to upload some of the charts and graphs that we actually used for The Forgotten Girl. That kind of gets that deeper understanding, allows you to ask the right questions, and teaches you how to get that outcome. Talking about the type of questions that you learn to ask actually brings me to my second discovery, and that is how important the role of coaching is. And there was no single coach in our book club. We all coached each other along, and we did that by clarifying and playing the devil's advocate and questioning, asking for clarification, and it really makes it a big difference. And this is why. I could have a book club, and all we could do is talk. We would get nothing done, we would just go around in a circle, and it doesn't feel like there's a real plan involved. But if everyone knows that they're going to be a coach during the book club session, then you have people that know to ask questions. You have people that are going to play opposite and play devil's advocate. And you're going to question more, and you're going to get more out of it, because if you're not asking questions, you're not learning. So that was my second point of discovery, and discovery 1 and 2 kind of go hand in hand, because if you don't know how to ask questions, then you're not going to be a good coach. Before I move on to question 3, I'm going to go grab my puppy real quick. Okay, sorry about that. So I just touched on my second discovery. The third discovery that I individually came to was expand your genres. Expanding genres really was something that opened my eyes to a lot of books that I think I would have never read. For example, we read the book Smile by Raina Telgemeier. I hope I said her name right. It's a graphic novel, so it's like a comic book, and that is not something that I would ever elect to read. And I so enjoyed it. It was so cute, and it was such a learning tool because, I mean, it's mostly dialogue. There's not really any context except for the pictures, the visuals that you're given. There's not really a whole lot of context. It would just be dialogue. So I thought that was a really cool element of a book. I actually ended up writing my narrative dimensions analysis on it because the tellership and the tellability totally changes when you actually see the characters in front of you. So expanding genres, I really learned not to be afraid of and to just go in with an open mind. I feel like I'm less of a book snob because I feel like I keep talking about, well, I didn't think I'd like this book. I liked it, but hindsight's 2020. So I really did enjoy the book Smile, and I totally would encourage other young adult readers to read it, because if you're a middle schooler, you're going to relate to everything, and if you're not a middle schooler and you're older, you're going to reminisce on that time and become more empathetic to that age group. So it was a good read, and I totally plan on having it in my classroom library. So that was my second discovery, is expand your genre. The fourth discovery that I had was closer to the end of the semester when we moved to The Hate U Give. And that was a discovery of social issues and the impact that it's going to make on our students. I'm going to be honest, The Hate U Give made me cry. And it made me realize these are problems that students in my class are going to have one day. And I want to be able to, if I can't relate, I need to understand and sympathize with that student and just be their yes man. It taught me, it allowed me to discover that as a teacher, it is our job to be kids' yes man. And a lot of times it's hard because we're their teacher and there's all this, it's hard to make a decision. But at the end of the day, we're the people that need to be able to push our youth to make better generations past them. So I really enjoyed The Hate U Give, and I felt um, socially enlightened, if there was a word for it. So those were the 4 discoveries, times of discovery that I had. I had many more, but not enough time to talk about them, unfortunately. But I do want to talk real quick about some of the challenges that I had. Our book club had very different people, and it was great. It was great. But you have people who want to read different books. So I wish we would have been able to get everyone's book in, but just we didn't have time to do it, and we ended up having a 2-week spring break, which cut out a book. While having very different people, it was a challenge, but it was a very positive one, because having different people just allows you to get that different answer that you never would have thought of. It allows for adversity in your book club, and I totally recommend finding a book club of people that aren't just interested in what you're interested in, because it makes a big difference. One of the other challenges that we came to is that we did realize that sometimes the books kind of seemed to stray from YA books, and the book that I think of when I come to this is The Hate U Give. While it was a wonderful book, and it was my favorite book of the semester, it was not a YA book. And then I'm going to talk about 2 more challenges. I'm going to talk about 4. I do want to talk about the challenge of YA books. And I think it's important that we read YA books, because we're going to be teaching the young adults. It is hard to read YA books after a while, I feel like, because it's great to know what the younger people are reading, but it just was not stimulating mentally. But what helped overcome this challenge was the discussions that we had in our book talk really was the stimulus to what we read. So the last challenge that I came up with was ebooks. And it made me think about how ebooks might affect my future classroom. And my challenge with ebooks is that I do not like them. And I think it makes really comprehending what you're reading a little harder. I found myself distracted. And I found that during our book clubs, because I was already on an online platform, it was so much harder to go back and find the page, rather than just having the copy with my little sticky notes inside that I can flip right to. Hey guys, look at this. So that was my last challenge. But my final thesis on book clubs is they rock. They totally rock. And book clubs are a fantastic option, because I would define it as cohesive individuality. You are an individual in the process, and you have responsibility and accountability that you have to take care of in your book club. For example, we didn't have one author, because that just kind of puts all the accountability on one person. Rather than having one person be accountable, every person was accountable for contributing to the process. So having cohesive individuality, you are being individuals, but at the end you're coming towards a cohesive meeting where you're going to cohesively talk about what you read and how you as an individual felt about it. So I do describe book clubs as cohesively individual. But I do want to leave you with this little last piece of finality for why book clubs should be used. They're a comfortable way to learn. There's so much less pressure when you're comfortable reading with your peers rather than being afraid of being called on. It allows your more introverted people to get involved without pressure. And I really enjoyed it. So thank you, A Novel Bunch. Thank you. I think the other one was called It's Lit. Thanks, Dr. Cordy. And I'm sad that the semester is over because this is my last semester before student teaching. And I'm going to miss you guys. Even though we were on remote learning, I still felt like we were all still a class. So I'll miss you guys a lot. And thanks for a great semester of being creative and getting to know all you guys. Bye.